You may have heard it said that the big climax to your book should be both surprising and inevitable. But what does that actually mean? Keep watching to find out. One of the aspects of writing I enjoy most is surprising the reader with unexpected twists and turns. I get a real buzz out of setting up a nice red herring, ending a chapter on a cliffhanger, or completely bamboozling the reader by moving the story into a new and unexpected direction. What I love most of all, though, is when the climax of a book is both shockingly surprising but ultimately inevitable. People are utterly shocked when they read what happens, yet after a while they start to think, well, this is the only way it could have really gone. That's what you're going for with a surprising and inevitable ending. But how do you go about building something like that? Well, I'm glad you asked. But before we get on to that, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Who knows, maybe you'll find the resulting sensation of joy and contentment both surprising and inevitable. But either way, it will make me happy. So let's do it. Now, on to the problem of building out an ending to your novel, which is both surprising and inevitable. One of the best ways I've found to experience the twists and turns of my writing is to really try and see the world through my protagonist's eyes. If the main character is genuinely surprised by what's happening, odds are the reader will be as well. Now, this is particularly easy for me because I tend to write in first-person present perspective, meaning that the reader is basically inhabiting the mind of my main character as they're reading. With that writing style, it's very easy to keep future twists hidden from the reader because they can only see what the main character sees. You can quite literally have someone waiting for them around the next corner without either your protagonist or your reader knowing what's waiting for them in the shadows. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't employ the same sorts of techniques if you're writing in third person or if your novel jumps from character to character. It all comes down to what you keep hidden from the characters and the reader. One of the lessons I had to learn in my early years as a guitarist was that what you don't play is just as important as what you do play. When you start off, the temptation is to try and infuse your playing with as many flourishes as possible. But as you get a little bit more experienced, you learn that truly great guitarists tend to keep things simple, focusing on the best possible outcome for the song they're playing, rather than trying to blow everyone away with a searing solo or a never-ending run of licks and riffs. When you're trying to write a novel with lots of twists and turns heading to a great climax, it's important to think carefully about the information you're going to keep hidden from the characters and the reader. Okay, but seeing through your protagonist's eyes won't necessarily reveal an amazing ending for you. So what's next? My preferred writing style is that I routinely spend most of a novel complicating my protagonist's life, tying cords of intricate knots which twist the plot in on itself and keep the reader on the edge of their seat. There comes a point in every book, though, typically at around 30 to 50,000 words for me, where I come up against a deadlock and need to devote a little time to solving the complex network of knots which is starting to develop. Searching for an ending which is surprising and inevitable usually takes time. You need to sew up a lot of loose ends and keep readers guessing, while also providing a satisfactory ending which still leaves room for a little future conflict and development. That's a lot of work for one ending to handle. So how do I go about finding this elusive and magical ending? Well, I start by letting my characters ask questions, and then, one by one, I start trying to answer them. I just write down every major question my characters have, every mystery that the book has raised, every historical backstory which might somehow be connected to what's going on, and then I go through them one by one and try to answer those questions. Now, while I'm doing this, the odds are I can usually start to draw connections between some of the answers, and before long, a unifying theme starts to present itself. The benefit with this approach is also that you can try out a bunch of different options. Let's say that your ending revolves around the death of a major character due to an illness they've been harboring secretly all along. You can run that through each of the questions that you have and see what comes up. Does the resulting ending surprise and satisfy? If not, try something else. Maybe your protagonist wasn't really who they said they were. Maybe they were a twin acting on behalf of their sibling who died years earlier. Glass onion, anyone? Again, run that past your set of questions and see what comes up. Eventually, the odds are you'll come up with something that more or less works. Now, you might need to change some of the plot ideas throughout the rest of the book so that the ending really makes sense, but that's a small price to pay for an amazing ending. This works particularly well for me and for my style of writing, which is more like the explorer than the planner. Now, if you don't know what I mean by that, check out this video for details. Now, if you're a planner rather than an explorer, this works exactly the same way. The difference is that you'll be doing this exercise with the outline of your book rather than the book itself. So how do you make sure then that the ending you've come up with is surprising and inevitable? Well, for me at least, I use myself as a test. Once I've found my great idea and managed to tie together the ending of the book, I sit on it for a while, run it around in my head, and see if it actually is surprising given everything that's come before. Now, I can usually tell whether my ending is surprising enough right away. It's the kind of thing you feel in your gut, almost immediately, and you get that, "What? What just happened? Where am I?" kind of a moment. Knowing whether my ending is inevitable though, that typically takes a little bit longer. After a few days or even a few weeks, the book starts to settle in my head, even if I'm still in the process of writing it. As the ending settles and the linkages between other plot points and side stories throughout the book start to intertwine and coalesce, I can begin to see how good a fit it is. Also, as I continue to write the remainder of the book, each new chapter will confirm whether my ending is hitting the mark or not. If it is, fantastic. Everything will start to tighten and it will become a unifying principle for the book itself. If not, then I need to go back a step and take a look at other possible endings which might do a better job of tying everything together in a more satisfactory manner. So ultimately the test as to whether your book ending is both surprising and inevitable is you. But an even better measure is to talk it through with a trusted companion, an editor, or someone who gives you a good steer on this sort of thing. Well, I hope that's helped put some bones on the whole surprising and inevitable idea. Hopefully this will help you fashion some amazingly surprising and inevitable endings to your books. If you found yourself wrestling with an ending for your book, why not commiserate with me in the comments below? As always, keep it real, keep it safe.